Welcome to the show, everybody. This is our second podcast. So excited to be here with you, Isaac.
Yep, it's good. It's good. We're glad to be back. It was not a one-hit wonder, ladies and gentlemen. We are back and ready to rumble. Okay.
That's the way podcasts work. You just keep going and going forever.
Yeah, because most people, usually it works out like the first podcast gets all the downloads and people know what they're getting.
Yeah.
And then they never listen again. But the people that are doing it continue to do it along the way and eventually pick up a couple.
Yeah, we have no idea whether we can replicate the huge ratings we got last time.
I know. I don't think we'll ever get ratings like that. Like, to be honest, like, we've never gotten anything close to that ever.
Well,
when I looked at the numbers, I was just like, what on this earth?
The numbers were not bad, but I think we could beat them one of these days, we'll see.
Okay, so Mercer, you were letting me know something that was happening that you heard as you were getting out of your vehicle today. What's going on?
Oh, well, no, so there's apparently going to be a white nationalist rally, but that's not what you're trying to talk about,
no,
right?
I'm not.
Okay. People, if there's ever going to be one of these wacky events like there was down in the States in Winnipeg, Liberty Film will definitely be there, and we will get you the full scoop of all the nasty details.
Oh, yeah. But
what Isaac's talking about is what was leading World Report this morning. Well, it's a slow news day is what it is. But they led with this breathless sort of, John A. Macdonald was our first prime minister, the founder of this country. He added 5 provinces to the nation and built the railroad. And today... people are calling for his name to be removed from history, wiped off the face of the map, never to be heard from again. To bring us more on this story is blah blah blah, and then it's the Ontario Teachers Federation has passed a motion calling for all the many schools in Ontario apparently that are named after John A. Macdonald to have his name removed. But the news was reporting we want him swept off the face of the earth, and. His crime apparently was, among others, but the one they're going after him for is that he was either a supporter or he was complicit or some way in the establishment of residential schools, which are a very terrible thing. It was some of the worst stage of government education combined with stealing children away from their parents at the same time as throwing those parents into ghettos. It was kind of like concentration
camps. You mean 2017 or?
Well,
oh, no?
It's still happening now, but
yeah.
As a homeschooler, we kind of see, we're kind of like, yeah, why don't we just throw residential in with all the rest of those schools and call it a day? But it was a really bad thing, and Macdonald definitely was not an opponent of this stuff. He was a pretty racist guy, and he did other bad stuff, including selling the National Railway contract for I think it was $100,000 campaign donation.
Wouldn't you?
Well, yeah, I probably would, but no, I wouldn't. But it was a good, it saved him politically in the moment, and then he got booted for that. But the new government that came through and his government that got reelected afterwards still gave the railway contract to these people. So, Macdonald's a bad guy, but I really oppose this concept. I think they had a clip of a teacher or someone saying that going to a school with John A. Macdonald's name on it would make a child feel unsafe or something. And generally, I was looking at the whole U.S. Issue with the statues and whatever. And I'm kind of ambivalent on many levels. I'm not sometimes I'm like, oh, come on, please, let's save the statues. But in another sense, it's like, what? The statues aren't that great either. But really, if the point is at where the racism is at where a statue or the name of a school is what's making you feel unsafe, you're probably looking for things versus actually, I think racism is at a good point. That's actually what you got to complain about.
Yeah, this has to do with, lots of these kind of issues have to do with people taking down statues in the United States as well, like Southern and Confederate statues. And some of the interesting points that I think are it's a pretty good idea is taking these statues down and putting them in a museum.
Which was actually in Charlottesville there with the big thing. That was actually the plan.
Yeah.
They weren't planning to smash it. And now, because the racists came to try and support it, people destroyed the thing. So, kind of backfired on them.
Yeah, but so there's a certain degree where I definitely agree with preserving, whether what these people did was good, preserving, they always say, you're bound to repeat history.
Yeah.
If you don't, remember it and study it and all that kind of thing. So I think it plays an important role.
And having McDonald's name remaining on a school, which I'm actually going to say right now, I kind of support not removing Johnny McDonald's name. It just, to me, that seems like a kind of a petty thing. It does not mean that we have to worship or celebrate him, okay? They can definitely be clear that this was a bad statist guy who was happy to use force to abuse indigenous and other people.
Yeah.
And was kind of happy to be corrupt for his own personal gain. And just because something is named after someone, or there's a statue on the street corner, there's a park that's called after them, doesn't mean that that person is endorsed for being a glorious, perfect person. And look, there are a few leaders that don't have faults. That doesn't mean we excuse the faults of some of them, but it means that we don't crucify everyone who did something wrong.
Yeah, I totally agree, because there's many things people can, if you totally guard your kids from these so-called, like, monster people that they're like, oh man, Harper, I was gonna say Harper, he's such a bad guy, but no, Johnny McDonald was such a bad guy. You guard. You're like, my child feels scared. Teach your child about Johnny McDonald. Tell him all the terrible things he did, and look.
Johnny McDonald is dead. He's been dead for a very long time, well over 100 years.
The ghost of Johnny McDonald will steal your children and put them in school.
Johnny McDonald is not going to do anything bad to you. And just as Shakespeare said, a rose would smell as sweet with any other name. And the same thing, a school is just as dangerous or unsafe, no matter what its name. So,
yes, indeed.